Hey guys, there is a lot that's really special about where I am at this very moment. First of all, I'm in the beautiful city of Detroit, Michigan. Second of all, I'm in the cast corridor where Jack White and his band The White Stripes got their start. And that's important because I'm also standing in front of Jack's Third Man Records in Detroit. It's not just a record and apparel store full of great design, it is also an actual record pressing plant. They have just installed 8 brand new record pressing machines, and you might not know this, but that kind of thing hasn't happened in the United States in over 3 decades. We're gonna walk through this process in great detail, not just hearing about it. I'm actually going to record the Brain Candy song here at Third Man. Let's go. Hey, Randy, good to see you.
Good to see you.
So I've been here a few times, but for our viewers who have not been to Third Man in Detroit, can you explain the space a little bit?
The front of the house is our retail store. We sell records, artists that we put out, Third Man releases, historic reissues, Motown, Tamla, Sun Records. We got a few blues series and a lot more stuff coming up.
And you have a whole bunch of merch too?
All designed in-house. We, Nashville team, Detroit team. We do as much as we can ourselves.
Now, I also hear that in this building, I can make a recording and make a record, a vinyl record.
Yeah, we got 2 different options. Option 1.
This looks like a vending machine.
It sort of is a vending machine. It's a 40s machine that you put your money into. You can sing, you can tell a story, you can just, it's basically like an audio postcard, I guess.
Really?
Yeah.
And what is the media that comes out of this?
Comes out on a little round 5-inch piece of plastic that you can play on any turntable.
No way. That's beautiful. A vending machine recording booth.
Yeah.
Okay, that's option 1. What is option 2?
Option 2 is to get you up on stage and mix you down, and it'll go right back into the control room and cut on an old lathe, direct to an acetate, and then we get them printed, pressed.
All analog.
Yep, everything.
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
Lead on.
Let's get you on. Cool, Adam. This is Chris, our front of house sound guy.
Nice to meet you.
Pleasure.
We'll get you up there and get you started.
Fabulous.
All right. So tell me about these microphones. What is the setup we've got?
It's not a very common mic placement. I just thought it would work, and it turns out it did. I got lucky, I guess. But this particular setup is called Bloomline, which I have no idea what that means. It's obviously German, but it's basically 2 figure-of-8 mics.
What does that mean?
It means that they pick up in a figure-of-8 pattern. So most of the time, with a microphone, you have something called a cardioid pattern, which sort of looks like, if you're thinking about it in terms of pickup, it's sort of like the top of a mushroom.
Like,
right? Yeah,
right,
sort of like
okay.
that. So it's rejecting what is pointing, what is behind the mic.
Right.
Right. Which makes sense. If you're going to sing into something, you want to reject this sound so it doesn't feedback.
Sure.
Since that was not a real issue today because I didn't have anything in your monitors, and also because the old-timier nature of your vibe and song, I thought we would use some ribbon mics that are in figure-8.
these are just the ribbon mic means it's a strip of metal.
It is, yeah. They have insanely good rejection on the on the nulls, which are the like if you look at these, it's along this axis and this axis.
Okay, so this one's picking up the ukulele because it's pointed that way, and that one's picking up my voice, and neither of them is hearing the other instrument very well. Obviously,
yeah,
they're getting some.
They're getting some because, you're moving and all that, but they're also very forgiving for movement.
Right.
The rejection is actually kind of absurd how good it is. Really, normally what this would be used for would be like an orchestra or something, because if you take these and you flip them on their axis, or axes, I guess, like this,
yeah.
then you're getting a perfect stereo image, and the rejection then,
right.
So this is like a pair of ears, but like,
listening right to me. And
maybe not how they would normally be.
That's awesome.
Sort of flipped on the horizontal
Yeah.
axes. And these mics they're sort of the cutting edge of what are called active ribbons, which allows for a little bit more gain.
So these are super modern microphones, but the ribbon technology is about the most ancient there is. Yeah?
Made today in Pasadena, California by Audio Engineering Associates.
Well, shall we get started?
Yeah.
All right.
Let's do it.
We are in the groove. Now a big blazing fire is the opposite of a plant. It's an exothermic reaction, creating heat and light and CO2 as its action, all from a breath of what you and me survive on. Oxygen, but photosynthesis opposes fire in every... But photosynthesis opposes fire in every instance. It's an endothermic reaction, creating heat and light and CO2 for its passion, all from a breath of what you and me survive on. Oxygen, I do not care what you study, just so long as you make a buddy out of meteors, geology, and matter, dark or light, it doesn't matter. Of fact, to me, there's commonality in all these things that we sing. Our brain candy. Hey, that one was good. Thank you. Crazy. How did that go?
That went great, thanks.
Is that it?
That is it.
That is intense, man. Recording, knowing that the lathe is spinning up and there's just one chance to get it right.
That is true.
I mean, the level of professionalism required to go in and make this work is something that people who use digital just don't quite understand.
Right. I feel like great art is made when there's consequences. If I was like, pick up a Toyota, you can't do it, but if it's on your wife, right, you can pick it up. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like you play a gig, there's a bunch of people there, you don't want to embarrass yourself, so you play better than at practice usually. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just that kind of thing.
So look at this. This machine this machine feels like it wouldn't be out of place in a Soviet bunker in the 60s. This is totally analog.
So yeah, these are, we call these programmers. And there's a module that we actually very carefully pull out of here.
So this is how you adjust the speed of the motor.
Correct. The speed of the motor and the diameter of the record.
Gosh. And you just sit there and chunk that back into... That's analog, man. A microscope. This microscope is for seeing the grooves?
Correct. Yeah, so we can inspect the grooves once we've cut something to make sure mostly that they're not colliding together.
Oh, they can do that?
Yeah, so if you're trying to get a lot of material on a record, the grooves, you can get the grooves very close together, but if there's too much deviation of the groove, they can kiss or crash, and that's where you'll get a skip.
Wow.
The other thing that can happen is the groove can pinch. So if we have low frequency information that's out of phase between the left and the right, that groove will pinch and it will act like a ramp.
Oh, and kick the needle up.
Kick the needle out of the groove that way. So we can cut things that are impossible to play back.
This is a blank.
Yep, it's a piece of polished aluminum. So they've punched it out and polished it as smooth as possible. And then they use a curtain coater to put a very even layer of nitrocellulose lacquer on top of it.
Okay.
And then there's the thread of material that the cutter head plows and pulls up. We call that the chip. And so there's a little vacuum tube right next to the stylus that sucks that chip out of the way.
Do you have a bucket full of that?
I do.
Oh, wow, look at that.
You can see that that's a ball of
hot lacquer.
Hot lacquer. And as you can imagine, nitrocellulose is fairly flammable.
Yeah, right.
So we quench it in water.
So nitrocellulose is the first industrial plastic. Was invented to replace the ivory billiard ball, and then was, in fact, what we printed film on for decades. Nitrocellulose facts. There you go. Those are free. Can I look through the microscope?
Absolutely.
Wow. So each of these white lines I'm seeing, is that a groove?
That's correct. Yeah, you should see two sharp white lines, and then in between those, sort of a slightly out of focus line, which is the bottom of the groove.
Oh my God. So the white lines are the outside edges of the groove?
Correct. Which should be nice and sharp.
Oh my gosh. Oh man. So that amount that the groove is moving back and forth, that's the sound.
That is the sound.
This is like looking at the Matrix in code.
All right, man, so I just laid down a track. We cut it on your record lathe.
Yes.
And I felt the pressure, that significant pressure. I heard them say you're in the groove, which is, I didn't know that's how that phrase came.
Yeah.
But I started to feel like that pressure of like, we're cutting this right now. It's
Yeah,
not digital. You can't just keep on doing it.
Exactly. And that's the difference between the way recording was for 100 years up until just recently in the last couple of decades, where it became digital and computerized, where you could take 300 takes if you wanted to.
Yeah.
And so you're feeling that old style pressure, which I think helped a lot of amazing moments happen, amazing songs happen because of that pressure.
Yeah, it's that limitation that
Yeah.
brings out the art. Because I can
Yeah.
hear the nervousness in my voice. I heard the take, and I can hear a little bit of that nervousness, and I can hear myself bypassing it, and I can imagine.
Right.
I mean, for you, that's part of this whole process, right? Building those limitations and feeling them out.
It's the same way when I give depositions and for lawyers in court. So I feel that nervousness when I go through that.
So why is it important to set up a record pressing plant? What about the technology gets you really excited? Gets you
Well,
up in the
I think anything moving, mechanical, related to art is, I think, a beautiful thing. I think, I think we're missing that in the digital age. I think once, even CDs, which had great sounding audio, the moving part was hidden inside the machine. You
Yeah.
didn't see the CD spinning on most models.
Yeah.
But before that, it was the vinyl for 100 years, even reel-to-reel tapes or even cassette tapes. You could see the cassette moving. And then when we switched over to digital, we didn't see anything, parts moving anymore. And I think it's sort of like looking at a campfire. You're sort of hypnotized and you're reverential to taking part in it. Even in a movie theater, if you're there, in some sense, this projector is turning, even if you don't see it.
Yeah.
You know in the back of your mind there's a projector turning.
Yeah.
And I think that's really important in the age of invisible music, to have a real physical product you can hold and smell and you can watch turn, and you take part in it. You drop the needle and you can't help but feel like you're part of that magic, and you're reverential to it. You sit down, and then when the side's over, you flip it over. It's not just like pause it, I got a phone call, and where you're in control. The music is in control of you. So it's amazing that so many people have felt this way too about, in the last 10 years or so, this revival of vinyl has taken such a huge, amazing turn. It's become so popular, and the real difference between analog and digital, which I think that is sort of, you can get into some real psychological thoughts about how it affects you, but imagine analog as this. Analog is a pencil on a piece of paper, and the pencil is dragging and drawing, and it's never lifted. And digital is a pencil making many, many dots.
Right.
And there's always divisions between them. No matter how high the sample rate is or whatever, there's always going to be divisions in between those samples.
Right.
So whether that affects you subconsciously or not, or the sound of the overall soul of it, who knows? But it does make a point that on tape or on a vinyl, that needle or that magnetic tape is a pencil on a piece of paper that's never lifted off.
Yeah.
And I think whatever inherent things are in, there's tape wobble, and the tape, the machine itself, the groove is slight, variations in it, and those little movements, they change the tempo of the song, the pitch of the song, and they're not very audible, but they're in there. When you can listen to an old record and a brand new Pro Tools recording, you can tell the difference between something that sounds really soulful, sounds really magical, like it was. They caught some magic at that moment because of those slight variations in movement.
Well, even in here, as we're using this equipment, some of it's being touchy, and it's being sort of cantankerous, and there's a process of really engaging with the equipment to get this done. Do you feel like as a creator, like that relationship with the equipment yields a better product as well?
Oh, for sure. I love that. I love that, the studio is on fire, hurry up, put it out and let's record, we have 5 minutes left, or that machine that channel just blew up, hurry up, patch to the next channel, go. That's the way I have always wanted to work. I do not like all right, well, we'll be back tomorrow. We're going to go get something to eat and go get some drinks, and you guys fix this, and we'll be back. I love no, there's a real problem here. We have to fix it and alter what our original plan was. We were going to record with 3 microphones, but now 2 of them are broken. Now we're only going to record with 1 microphone. Let's make it work. That to me is creativity that you can't make that up. You can't. Those are real natural problems that occurred in the moment. I think Beck once said, if someone walked in the studio while you're recording and said, the burritos are here, that's the best part of the song. He's illustrating the idea that these mistakes that are cleared up in Pro Tools with a mouse click, like, oh, get rid of that one bum note, or he scratched his guitar there, erase that. Those are the best parts, really. These are the parts that when you listen to old records, like, oh, check it out. His amp fed back right here at the end of that solo.
So I did 3 takes, and I actually chose the take that includes me screwing up a lyric and restarting again, because I thought that's what we're talking about.
Exactly,
right?
exactly. Illustrates the point.
Next, we're going to watch the records get pressed.
Yes.
I can't wait to see that process.
Yeah.
When you first got the machines in and fired up, were you like, was it like Christmas morning?
Oh, it was incredible. I mean, it just assumed that it's not going to work, the whole time. It just assumed that there's no way, and then actually, these first records, I think Loretta Lynn's album Family Rose, which I produced, that was the first record that came off, and we played it. And I wanted to start crying. I mean, it's just, I couldn't really listen to the whole song, just to check to see if it worked, and it's just magical. I mean, it's different. You're so much more proud of it.
Yeah.
You want to know, if anyone's interested, they want to know, well, how is that done? Well, what happens then? And then how do these presses work? And then this starts a whole conversation. So the best thing was, when I was designing the plant, was to try to focus on there being windows to the store,
right,
and make the first record store where you could see records being pressed in the back. So it really makes that connection. Oh my God, okay, I see.
This is where my things come
and that's
from.
this,
right.
and I can take this home with me, and it was made right there. We want to get to the point where people can come back and, barring whatever insurance problems are, actually letting people make their own record and take it with them somehow. And which I think would really connect you to.
Yeah.
You were really part of making this music, and you can go home and listen to it for the rest of your life.
And you understand that physical story of how the thing got made.
Exactly, yeah.
Thank you so much for letting me come
Thank
play in
you.
the
Oh, man,
playground.
anytime.
I really appreciate it.
Hello, sir.
Hi, Adam. I'm Randy Haleva.
A pleasure, Randy.
Nice to meet you.
So I've just cut a record album. I can't believe I'm saying that phrase, but I've just cut a 7-inch record. What happens next in the process of that becoming a 45?
You'd like to see
Yeah,
the
I would love
process?
to. Yeah.
We start essentially with a PVC pellet.
Whoa, so they're like little tiny Hershey's Kisses.
Exactly. And these come in a variety of colors.
Oh, right, because record albums have been pressed in many different
Sure.
colors. Okay, so these pellets go into this machine where
They're
they're
loaded
heated
into a
up.
hopper. This is a manual load system here.
Right.
But we do have automatic feed systems as well.
Wow.
Then a certain amount is monitored going into the extruder at all times.
Yeah.
That is heated and compressed and makes the puck. Typically called a biscuit in the industry, but we're here in Hockey Town, so we call them pucks.
Makes sense. And it looks like all these presses are up and running right now.
They are all up and running. We're doing some stamper changes and some mold changes on a couple right now, but we're all up and running. The technology for pressing a record really hasn't changed over decades. We currently do 7-inch, 12-inch 130 gram, and 12-inch 180 gram. Okay, we are currently pressing a 7-inch 45 RPM record now.
Okay.
This is the actual stamper,
stamper.
that we'll receive back from the plater.
And that has the grooves. That's the music on both sides.
Exactly, A side and B side.
So the record albums aren't cut. They're actually molded.
The groove is actually pressed into the surface of the vinyl.
Oh, I see the label going down.
That's a B side label going down.
Yeah.
A side label going up.
So that little dog poop, that's going to be the album.
That will be the album.
Oh my gosh.
Going through a preheating cycle right now compression.
So preheating is steam heat is fed out to it?
In the top mold and bottom mold, there's a serpentine coil that runs through.
So the molds themselves
interior.
are being made really hot.
Exactly.
Okay. And
Now
then,
it's going through a cooling cycle.
oh, so it's already compressed.
It's already compressed.
And now it's uncompressing. I can see them moving farther apart.
Exactly.
And you're feeding all this stuff, the steam and the electricity and the pressure. It's not in here. It's coming from outside.
It's all in auxiliary rooms and soundproof rooms and explosion-proof rooms. simply to create a nicer environment for the employees.
Oh, wow. Okay, you're making steam here, but can you walk me through what each of these big vessels really is?
Absolutely. That's our water storage tank, which is called the hot well.
Okay.
This is our steam generator.
This is your steam generator, is just like a lot of copper coils, right?
That's correct. The water's going through it, and then the flame at the bottom is heating that water.
Yep.
And then the steam flashes, so you have the water drop, the steam gets elevated, and gets sent over to this accumulator tank.
So this is where you're storing the steam before it goes out.
That's correct.
And what pressure is this at?
This is right around 235, 240 PSI.
That's gigantic.
Yeah,
I mean, for such a big vessel, this has got to be like an inch thick or something like that.
Yes, it is.
Wow. So this is where the album comes after pressing.
So all the excess flashing is then removed. You can still feel it's a little warm.
Oh, yeah.
Coming out of the press.
Yeah. So the flashing is removed and you're gathering it. Is this able to be reground?
Absolutely. We don't go through any waste here at all. We recycle our PVC, even the excess steam and chilled water that we use in the processing for manufacturing records. We recycle that and use that in our heating and cooling systems.
Amazing.
The only loss we have in this facility is really due to evaporation from the steam, and that's minimal.
Right.
Just we have condensate return lines that actually go back to the heat well in the boiler room and the steam generator room, and even that condensate is recaptured and reincorporated into the process.
Really? Once the record gets trimmed, what is the next stage in its evolution? It's almost ready.
It's almost ready. We typically let them cool for a period of time, cool under weight
Right.
to ensure the flatness.
Right.
And that's one of the things we look for in our quality control process.
And I noticed this doesn't have the standard 45 hole. Will that be put in?
That's a separate process,
Ah.
the RCA hole. That's more typical in the US, rarely used in Europe.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Oh, it's a simple punch.
it's a very simple punch.
And there it is.
There it is.
Okay. Wow. Hey, Eddie.
Hey, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. Can you walk me through the QC process for these records as they're being made?
Absolutely. QC happens every step of the way, really literally from when it comes off the press to the point where it gets to this table. After the records have cooled and cured thoroughly, we take them one by one individually and kind of do a quick 10, 12 point inspection of
Every single record?
Every single record. Yes.
Really?
Yes, you have to. The three main things we're looking for is that we've already checked is the audio of the record.
Right.
Make sure it sounds good, it's quiet where it needs to be quiet, and there's no defects at that point.
So there's someone listening to the albums as they're coming up.
Yes, and trying to keep up with all the presses and listening to at least every 25th record.
That's the most important part, right?
Exactly. It's
But
got to sound good. Yep.
After that, what is the other QC it goes through?
It's got to look good. So
Okay, so it could be, what are the visual artifacts? that you might find?
flatness is always your most important thing. So
Right.
as long as it didn't get cupped, shaped, and it has stayed flat, that's step one as far as, okay, we start looking for the finer details.
Mm-hmm.
Does the label look good? Aesthetically, do we see any scratches or divots or pock marks on the vinyl? It's an ongoing thing, but we never will look at records the same way again.
Yeah. So you go to someone's house and you look at their collection, you do the 12-point inspection on everything.
Exactly.
You end up with a stack full of duds here. What do you do with those albums?
We take them and the centers get punched out. So we have a special machine that just punches out the part with the paper because
Right.
we can't grind that back up.
Oh, right, because it's got the label on it.
Exactly.
Okay, so
So-
then you regrind this stuff and
Yep.
reuse it. But
Exactly.
what happens to that center?
Well, we're trying to come up with some creative ideas. Obviously, it would make a great coaster.
Sure.
And as long as we're not stepping on any copyrights, I think we may offer those in our store, which is a little advantage for us is that we have a retail store attached to our plant. So we're trying to look for an innovative way so that those don't get thrown out. But
Can you show me where the station is that someone listens to these albums all day long?
absolutely,
Lead on.
right around the corner. So here we are at a listening station.
This is his job, just to listen to the same album over and over and over and over.
Absolutely. Every press that's operating and making a record, he's communicating with them. They're handing off their product. He's bringing it over here and listening front to back and checking out anything that they may have noted or said, hey, can you listen for this? And
what are the markings on the albums here on the board?
so here we would have, we would note things that we saw from when the record was pressed. There may be a little divot or a mark. There might be a defect in the stamper or the metal product. He would either circle it on here and note it after he had heard it. Sometimes you see something, but it really doesn't make an audible. So
Right.
you kind of, again, have to determine, is it going to be acceptable or not? Is it a blemish that people are going to pay attention to or not?
Now, the moment we, our crew, saw that someone was here listening to, we all made the same joke, which was, I hope he likes the music. But
Yeah.
seriously, have you run into a situation where the person with this job is like, I can't do this album, I need someone else to fill it?
Sometimes after listening to the record for the, the 20th or 30th time, it could wear on you a little bit, but we do try to alternate a little bit so we don't have to listen to the same thing every time.
Okay, so now once an album has passed all of its QC, the next stage is packaging?
That's correct.
Can we walk there?
Absolutely.
Okay, so the record's in its sleeve. This is its final packaging.
Yep.
Here they are married together.
Exactly.
Now what happens?
Now we want to put it through our shrink wrap machine, so we line it up so we can get the film on it.
Okay.
It slides along the conveyor.
It's a little pillowy right now, but that gets actually shrunk wrapped, right?
Exactly. Into our shrink tunnel. It's heated. And
This is
it'll-
just a big heater.
Exactly. Little mini oven. Comes out all tight and ready.
It's like one of those taco machines.
Pizza conveyor.
There it is.
Here we are. Shrink wrapped. Ready to be boxed. Go into the box it goes.
And this holds 50?
Usually 50, depending if it's a double or a single with inserts. Each package has a little bit of different size. So, and then it goes over our boxing machine and sealed and onto a pallet and out the door.
Fantastic. Eddie, thank you so much for walking me through
Thank
the
you.
end of this
Great
process.
having
I
you.
really appreciate it. So there you go. That is the beautiful, lyrical, humble, handmade process by which the vinyl record album is produced here at Third Man. That's the way that mine will be produced. My next stage is to go back to San Francisco and wait for the test print, which I'll listen to, give a thumbs up for, and then a few weeks later, I should receive a box of my first Brain Candy 45s. I can barely wait.